right, Mobile Suit. How about we test your reaction time on terra firma?
Here. Amuro, be careful.
Thanks.
All right, get ready to hit that nostalgia button, because today we're taking a deep dive into a PS2 classic that drops us right into the Universal Century Mobile Suit Gundam, Journey to Jaburo.
Oh yeah, this one takes you back.
This action game throws you right into the One-Year War, letting you experience some of the most iconic moments from the original Mobile Suit Gundam series and movies.
For sure, it's a wild ride right from the beginning. Starting with the attack on Side 7.
Oh man, Side 7.
This peaceful space colony that, well, gets caught in the crossfire of the war between the Earth Federation and the Principality of Zeon. And you're not just watching it all happen, you're right there in the cockpit, as Amuro Ray piloting the legendary RX-78-2 Gundam.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I always forget just how much this game packs in. It covers everything from that initial Zeon attack all the way to that intense battle at Jaburo.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a journey across Earth here, battling through deserts, dodging asteroid fields, even fighting underwater. I mean,
It's a lot. It's true. The game really does capture the scope of the One-Year War. And speaking of scope, when we talk about Zeon, we have to mention their ideology. These guys aren't just, some random space baddies. They believe that Earth is for true humans,
right,
or what they call space noids, and that the Earth Federation is corrupt and holding humanity back.
Yeah, and that conflict is felt throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
We see the impact of Zeon's beliefs in these devastating battles. Like that encounter with Garmazabi in Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
He's this young, idealistic Zeon commander, totally convinced of their righteous cause,
Totally. And his death really shapes things up, not just for the Federation, but for Zeon as well. It's a real turning point in the war. It highlights the heavy cost of this conflict on both sides.
Definitely. Okay, so we've got Amuro in the Gundam, Zeon forces on the offensive, and the White Base crew just trying to survive.
Just trying to make it.
Can we talk about some of the other key players that you encounter along the way? I mean, there's a whole roster of characters here.
Absolutely. Besides Garma, you're facing off against some serious Zeon aces.
Oh, yeah.
There's Char Aznable, the Red Comet himself, constantly pushing Amuro to his limits.
He's the best.
And then there's Rambaral, an experienced veteran with a more personal connection to the war. His story is especially tragic.
Oh, man. His final battle.
I know.
That one hit hard. It really showcased the human cost of war, even for those fighting on the bad side.
That's the thing about this game. Even though it's based on this anime from decades ago, the themes still resonate today, It's not just about giant robots clashing, it's about the people inside those cockpits, their motivations, their struggles.
Totally. Okay, but the action isn't just confined to the main story mode. We've got to talk about Tactics Battle Mode. It's like a whole other game within a game.
Right. This is where Journey to Jaburo really opens up. Instead of following Amuro's journey, you create your own pilot, choose a side, and climb the ranks by completing missions.
It's a cool way to experience the One-Year War from different perspectives.
Yeah.
You could be a fresh-faced Federation recruit piloting a GM, or a hardened Zeon veteran commanding a Zaku 2.
And as you progress, the missions become more challenging, the stakes get higher, and the mobile suits you unlock become even more powerful.
Right. I remember grinding for hours just to get my hands on the Goof Custom. That black and purple paint job was so badass.
So cool.
But beyond just the mobile suits, the mission design in Tactics Battle Mode is really where it shines, I think.
I'd agree with you there. They put a lot of thought into these missions, challenging players to use different tactics depending on the terrain, the enemy units, and even the objectives.
Yeah.
Some missions require you to defend a base, while others task you with, escorting a transport or launching a surprise attack.
And the AI isn't just sitting there waiting for you to blow them up. They'll flank you, use cover, and even coordinate attacks. It makes each battle a genuine test of your skills.
Exactly. It's not just mindless button mashing. You have to think strategically, manage your resources, and adapt to that ever-changing situation on the battlefield.
For sure. And let's not forget about those special final duels in Tactics Mode. Facing off against the GM Blue Destiny Unit 1 and the Gundam Alex were some of the most intense and rewarding battles in the entire game.
Yeah, those battles weren't just challenging. They also, they added some interesting lore to the game. I mean, encountering Christina McKenzie and Yu Kojima, two characters who aren't even in the original series, was a really cool touch.
Totally. It's like they created this whole side story within tactics mode,
Yeah.
expanding on the Gundam universe in a way that felt both fresh and authentic.
Yeah, and the dialogue in those encounters, especially with Yu and his whole Blue Destiny philosophy, it added this layer of depth that you don't always see in a game like this.
Oh, and the post-mission assessments. Getting feedback from characters like Matilda Ajan, Kurgarenko, and even Char himself added a layer of immersion that really made you feel like you were part of the war effort.
Right, it's those little details that really elevate the experience. And let's not forget the ultimate reward for reaching Colonel rank in either faction, those hilarious videos.
Oh man, those reward videos were something else. I still remember seeing all those Xeon bigwigs formally thanking me for my service. It was so unexpected and funny.
And on the Federation side, let's just say it involved a lot of enthusiastic thanks.
Yeah.
And some interesting competition between the female characters.
Oh yeah?
It was definitely a memorable way to celebrate reaching the top rank.
Okay, so we've talked about the story mode, the strategic depth of tactics battle mode, and even some of the rewards for dedicated players.
Yeah.
But what about the real stars of the show? The mecha. This game is a Gundam fan's dream come true when it comes to mobile suit variety.
Absolutely. Journey to Jaburo boasts an impressive roster of iconic mobile suits and vehicles representing both the Earth Federation and the Principality of Xeon. We're talking about everything from the classic Gundam, gun tank, and gun cannon to the iconic Zaku the Disc goofs and DOMs.
And it's not just about seeing them in action. You get to pilot these legendary machines, experiencing their unique strengths and weaknesses firsthand. I mean, who hasn't dreamed of wielding the Gundam's beam rifle or slicing through enemies with the Goof's heat sword?
Right. And the game doesn't skimp on the details. Each mobile suit is meticulously modeled, capturing all the nuances of their designs from the anime.
You can really see the care they put into recreating these machines.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the iconic units either. There are also some interesting variations and lesser-known mecha sprinkled in there, like the GM Sniper 2, with its long-range accuracy, or the beefy Dom Tropin, designed for desert combat.
You even get to pilot the powerful GM Blue Destiny Unit 1 and the prototype Gundam Alex, both of which offer unique playstyles and pack some serious firepower.
I loved how each mobile suit had its own distinct feel. Piloting the agile Zaku II was a completely different experience from controlling the lumbering yet devastating Zigok. And speaking of the Zigok, those amphibious mobile suits were a blast to use underwater.
They were. And let's not forget about those non-playable units that add to the overall spectacle of the game. The G-Fighter, the GA Atmospheric Attack Carrier, the Magella Attack Tank. Seeing these machines in action really brings the one-year war to life.
It's like having a miniature version of the war unfolding right on your screen. And the best part is, this game isn't just about collecting and admiring these iconic machines. It's about understanding their role in the conflict, their strengths and weaknesses, and how they reflect the ideologies and technological advancements of their respective factions.
Exactly. For example, the Zaku II, Xeon's workhorse mobile suit, is mass-produced and adaptable, reflecting their belief in overwhelming force. On the other hand, the Federation's Gundam, while powerful, is a prototype, symbolizing their struggle to keep up with Xeon's early technological advantage.
It's those little details that really make Journey to Jaburo more than just a simple action game. It's a celebration of the Gundam universe, a chance to dive deep into the lore, the technology, and the human stories at the heart of this epic conflict. But I'm curious, what did critics think about the game when it first came out?
Well, the reception was a bit mixed. Some reviewers praised the game for its faithful adaptation of the source material, the impressive mecha roster, and the overall presentation. However, there were also some criticisms leveled at the gameplay.
Really? What kind of criticism? I mean, I always found it pretty fun, but maybe I'm just blinded by nostalgia.
Some critics found the controls a bit clunky, particularly when it came to maneuvering the mobile suits in tight spaces. And while the missions offered variety, some felt that they became repetitive after a while.
That's fair. I guess it depends on what you're looking for in a game. If you're a die-hard Gundam fan who wants to relive those classic moments and pilot iconic mobile suits, then Journey to Jaburo definitely delivers.
But if you're looking for a cutting-edge action game with, super refined mechanics, you might find yourself a bit frustrated with some of the game's limitations.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yes.
It's definitely a product of its time, But for Gundam fans, it's a nostalgic trip back to the one-year war that's hard to resist.
For sure. You know, one thing that really struck me about Journey to Jaburo is how well it captures the visual style of the original Gundam anime.
Right.
Those hand-drawn cutscenes are a real treat for fans.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They didn't just rehash old footage either.
No.
They created entirely new animations specifically for the game. It's like they unearthed a lost episode of the anime hidden away for all these years.
It really is.
Yeah. And it's not just about nostalgia either.
Right.
These cutscenes actually enhance the storytelling in a way that simple in-game graphics, just couldn't achieve back then.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Take the opening cutscene, for example.
Uh-huh.
It shows the attack on Side 7, right? But from a different perspective than the anime,
Right.
we get this close-up of a young civilian family
Oh, wow.
trying to escape the destruction, and their faces are just filled with fear and desperation.
Oh, man.
It adds a whole new layer of emotional weight to the scene,
Totally.
reminding us that this war isn't just about giant robots clashing.
Right.
It's about the human cost of conflict.
Yeah. And then you've got that epic CGI opening sequence.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. That space battle is pure eye candy.
I know.
The Gundam taking down those Zakuri Seas while dodging lasers and explosions. I mean, it's a visual spectacle.
It really sets the tone for the game,
Yeah.
showcasing the scale and intensity of the one-year war right off the bat.
Right away.
And the music in that opening,
All
those
right.
classic Gundam themes, gives me chills every time.
Speaking of music,
Yeah.
I think the soundtrack deserves a lot of praise.
Oh, yeah.
It seamlessly blends original compositions with remixed tracks from the anime, perfectly capturing that epic feel of Gundam. Did you have a favorite track?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I really love the reimagining of Aisenshi during some of the more intense battles.
Okay.
It pumps you up and gets your adrenaline going.
Oh, for sure.
But honestly, the entire soundtrack is top-notch.
Yeah.
It perfectly complements the on-screen action and heightens the emotional impact of key moments.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the voice acting.
Oh, right.
Hearing the original English cast
Yes.
from the Mobile Suit Gundam television series reprise their roles
Amazing.
was a stroke of genius.
Right. It's those familiar voices that transport you back to your childhood watching the anime for the first time.
Yeah.
It adds that layer of authenticity and nostalgia that few games can match.
Right.
I mean, who doesn't get a little giddy
I know.
hearing Brad Swale deliver those iconic Char Aznable lines?
Now, obviously, the in-game graphics don't quite hold up to today's standards.
Yeah.
We're talking about a PS2 game after all.
Of course.
But for its time,
Yeah.
I think it still looks pretty decent.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
The environments, while a bit simplistic at times,
Right.
effectively convey the different settings of the one-year war.
Okay.
From the industrial complexes of Side 7 to the vast deserts of North America and the lush jungles of Jaburo.
Right.
Each location has its own distinct look and feel.
I think the mobile suit models themselves have aged particularly well.
Oh, totally.
They're incredibly detailed
Yeah.
and faithful to their anime counterparts,
Uh-huh.
capturing all the iconic designs and proportions.
Yeah, you can really see the effort they
Yeah.
put into making each machine feel distinct and recognizable.
Definitely. And the beam effects,
Oh, yeah.
like the Gundam's beam rifle and the Zako's Heat Hawk, still have a real sense of weight and power.
For sure.
Yes. I remember the first time I used the Gundam's Hyper Bazooka in the game. The explosion was so huge and satisfying.
Oh, my God.
It felt like the whole screen was shaking.
Those little touches go a long way. In bringing the action to life,
Right.
you really feel the impact of each weapon, especially when those critical hit animations trigger.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about lasers and explosions.
Oh, yeah.
You feel the raw power behind each attack.
It's clear that the developers were passionate about Gundam.
Oh,
And that passion shines through in every aspect of the presentation.
for sure.
They wanted to create an experience that felt authentic to the source material. And I think they succeeded admirably, even with the technical limitations of the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a testament to their dedication that this game still holds up as a visual and auditory treat for Gundam fans today.
Okay, so we've talked about the cutscenes, the CGI, the music, the sound effects, and even the voice acting.
A lot.
I think it's safe to say that Journey to Jaburo excels in the presentation department. But how does all of this tie into the game's overall success in capturing the essence of Gundam?
Yeah, that's the key question, isn't it? Does it just look and sound like Gundam, or does it truly feel like Gundam?
Right.
And I think the answer lies not just in the presentation, but also in the way it handles the story, the characters, and the themes of the anime.
I'm inclined to agree.
Okay.
The way it portrays the moral complexities of war, the sacrifices made by soldiers on both sides,
Yeah.
and the internal conflicts faced by characters like Omuro and Char,
Right.
those elements are all essential to the Gundam experience.
For sure.
And Journey to Jaburo doesn't shy away from those complexities.
It doesn't.
Right.
It would have been easy to just create a mindless action game with giant robots. But the developers went deeper than that.
Yeah.
They wanted to explore the human element of war,
Right.
the psychological toll it takes on individuals, and the difficult choices people are forced to make.
And they did so while still delivering a fun and engaging gameplay experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that balance between action and introspection.
Right.
That makes Journey to Jaburo stand out as more than just another licensed game.
But of course, no game is without its flaws.
Right.
And Journey to Jaburo is no exception.
Of course.
We've already touched on some of the criticisms leveled at the gameplay, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what the game could have done differently or perhaps improved upon.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think one area where Journey to Jaburo could have pushed the boundaries a bit further is in its mission design.
Okay.
While the missions offer variety,
Right.
they could have benefited from more strategic depth and player choice.
I see what you mean. Like some of the missions, especially in the early game,
Yeah,
can feel a bit linear and repetitive.
a little bit. Yeah.
It would have been interesting to see more missions that allowed for multiple approaches or incorporated branching paths based on player decisions.
Right. Imagine a mission where you have to choose between rescuing civilians or defending a strategic location.
Right.
With each choice having consequences for the overall war effort.
Oh, wow. That kind of decision-making
Yeah.
would have added a layer of strategic complexity
Right.
that's somewhat lacking in the current game.
And maybe they could have explored the political side of the conflict a bit more.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine having to make decisions that affect the morale of your troops, or the diplomatic relations between the Earth Federation and neutral colonies.
That would have been fascinating.
Yeah.
It would have turned the game into something more than just a battlefield simulator.
Right.
It would have given players a chance to shape the course of the war through their choices,
Right.
adding a whole new dimension to the gameplay.
Now that you mention it, I'm surprised they didn't incorporate more elements from those strategy games that were popular at the time. Imagine a mode where you could manage resources, research new technologies, and deploy troops across a map of the Earth's sphere. Kind of like a Gundam version of Command and Conquer.
That would have been incredible. It would have tapped into a whole different genre of gaming.
Yeah. While still staying true to the core themes of Gundam.
It makes you wonder what a modern Journey to Jaburo remake would look like with today's technology and gameplay mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
The possibilities are pretty exciting.
I think fans would go crazy for a remake
Oh, for sure.
that combined the visual fidelity and gameplay depth of modern Gundam games
Yeah.
with the nostalgic charm and attention to detail of Journey to Jaburo.
Imagine a sprawling open world where you could seamlessly transition between on-foot exploration,
Yeah.
mobile suit combat, and strategic decision-making.
And what if they added online multiplayer?
Oh!
Allowing players to team up or battle each other in these epic mobile suit skirmishes?
Now we're talking.
Oh,
I'm getting way too hyped up about a hypothetical remake that might never happen.
You know.
Let's bring it back down to earth.
Okay.
We've talked about the good, the bad, and the potentially awesome. But at the end of the day,
Right.
what's the final verdict on Mobile Suit Gundam? Journey to Jaburo.
I think Journey to Jaburo is a flawed, but ultimately endearing classic.
Right.
It's a game made with love for the Gundam franchise.
Yeah.
And that shines through in its presentation, its attention to detail,
Right.
and its heartfelt attempt to capture the spirit of the anime.
It's a game that takes you back to a simpler time in gaming,
Oh, yeah.
when giant robots ruled the screen and hand-drawn cutscenes were the pinnacle of storytelling.
It might not be perfect,
Yeah.
but it's a game that holds a special place in the hearts of many Gundam fans, myself included.
For sure.
And sometimes that's all that really matters.
Huh. Well said. It's kind of wild to look back at Journey to Jaburo and see how it set the stage for Gundam games that came after it. This came out back in 2001, right? And the Gundam gaming world has just blown up since then.
Oh, yeah, totally. It was a huge step forward, you know? Like, before Journey to Jaburo, most Gundam games were just kind of basic arcade-style action. But this one showed that there were people out there who wanted something more, something deeper, something that really dove into the world of Gundam, the lore, the characters, all of it.
Right, like we've seen some seriously amazing Gundam games come out over the years.
Right.
I mean, think about the Gundam versus series and those crazy arena battles, or Giren's Greed with all that deep strategy stuff.
Oh, yeah, Giren's Greed is a classic.
And then there's Mobile Suit Gundam, Encounters in Space. Man, that game was a total emotional roller coaster. I mean, the way it showed the last days of the one-year war, it was heartbreaking.
I know.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see how each of those games took what Journey to Jaburo started and just ran with it. They tried out different game styles, different ways of telling the story, all while staying true to that Gundam feel. And it feels like things are only getting more exciting.
Yeah, totally. Look at Gundam Evolution. It's this fast-paced hero shooter, right? And it's bringing a whole new wave of fans into the Gundam world. Who knows what's next? Maybe we'll get a Gundam open world RPG. Imagine that, like exploring the whole Earth sphere, building your own custom mobile suit, making choices that actually change how the story unfolds.
Oh man, I would love to see a game that really digs into the politics of the Earth Federation and Xeon. Like, imagine playing as a character who has to navigate all those alliances, all the backstabbing, all those different beliefs about how the world should be.
That would be amazing. Like, trying to keep your troops motivated while you're negotiating with other colonies, all while managing your resources, researching new tech, and, actually fighting on the battlefield. It'd be like a massive strategy game, but like on a galactic scale.
And think about the tough choices you'd have to make. Like, do you save your soldiers or do you focus on winning the war? Do you stick to your principles even if it means more fighting? Or do you compromise to try to get peace?
Those are the kind of questions that make Gundam so much more than just a show about giant robots. It's about the real people caught up in those fights, the decisions they make and the consequences they have to deal with.
Exactly. It makes you think about war and peace, and about what people are willing to do when they believe in something. And that's why I think Gundam still feels so relevant, even after all these years.
I totally agree, and I think that's why Journey to Jaburo, even with its flaws, is such a special game in the whole history of Gundam games. It was a big risk, trying to bring that whole Gundam world to life in a new way, and it worked. It really worked in ways that probably surprised even the people who made it.
It really did. It was like a gateway for a whole generation of gamers, introducing them to this amazing universe. And it opened the door for all those awesome games that came after. Games that took Gundam in directions that, honestly, I don't think even Yoshiyuki Tamino, the guy who created Gundam, could have predicted.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Mobile Suit Gundam Journey to Jaburo, I want to leave you with this. What if, instead of a straight-up remake, we got something totally new, like a spiritual successor to Journey to Jaburo, something that takes all the things that made the original so great, that passion for the source material, the crazy attention to detail, that sense of, like awe and excitement, and builds on it using all the tech and game design we have today.
A game that really nails the intensity of those mobile suit battles, the strategy of leading a squad through the one-year war, and those powerful stories about the people fighting in it. I would play that game in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, if there are any game developers out there listening, take notes. But for now, let's hear what you guys think. What are your memories of Journey to Jaburo? Did it get you hooked on Gundam, or was it just a fun trip down memory lane? Let us know in the comments. And hey, as always, if you enjoyed this deep dive into this PS2 classic, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out and lets us know what kind of content you enjoy. And if you're feeling super generous and want to help us keep making these deep dives, check out the Patreon link down below. Your support means everything to us. Until next time, stay sharp, keep your beam sabers charged, and those mobile suits ready for action.
All hands, concentrate your firepower on the enemy planes! Fire!